Chapter 6 POV, Site Director, Dr. Jean Carlisle Actus SCP-12725, last review date / item hashtag, SCP-12725 Level 2 Restricted Object Class, Euclid Disruption Class, ECI, 4, Additional, Redacted is insistent on it being Amida, 5, Risk Class, Caution, 2, Additional, Redacted is insistent on it being Critical, 5, Special Containment Procedures, SCP-12725 is to be kept in a Type Green Specialized Cell. Notice, it has yet to be moved to 1. Observation has to be done from at least 100 meters away. The use of cameras has proven helpful for observation. If an interview has to be done, an official request is to be sent to Site-81's director. Personnel who come in contact with SCP-12725 have to go through possible mind control procedures. SCP-12725 has not tried to breach containment yet. It shows an indifference to being in its cell. It has stated that it could breach containment at any time it wants. Redacted has authorized Dr. Alto Clef kill order request on SCP-12725 in case of a breach attempt. Description: SCP-12725 is a humanoid being with red hair and green eyes. It claims to own the principles of domination. There is currently no consensus among the Foundation staff assigned to SCP-12725 on the nature of the principles of domination. Redacted believes SCP-12725 attempted to become a redacted when it made a deal with SCP-738. See report number 256874 for more information about the deal made. SCP-12725 is no longer human. SCP-12725 is not to be thought of as human. Talking to it expecting human-like responses will make your perspective of its answers skewed. Primarily psychological research theorizes it no longer thinks like humans nor does it manifest feelings as humans do. SCP-12725's unaffected mental state despite its isolation has made Dr. Kenzuakai believe it no longer registers the passing of time in the same way humans and most humanoid SCPs do. May have a correlation to its biokinesis or possible pseudo-immortality. SCP-12725 has shown itself to be a type red that presents expanding regeneration, or at least some manner of control over its own being. SCP-12725 has not been given any food since its containment in an attempt to limit its possible regenerative properties. SCP-12725 has not shown any negative side effects from starvation, nor has his self-biokinesis been affected. SCP-12725 is believed to be a Type Green. It currently is at Stage 2 of development. SCP-12725 skipped over Stage 0 and 1. Dr. Aurelia Baldovini believes SCP-12725 is not a Type Green since its mannerisms do not match with normal reality benders. More research has to be done. SCP-12725 also appears to have an aura, explained as a heavier presence by the thaumaturgy personnel currently stationed at Site-81. Dr. Dameng Alraga. Proposed SCP-12725's aura is created by its connection to our reality being stronger and more profound. Dr. Dameng Alraga also theorized that, quote, its soul may just being so powerful its presence invades the material world, end of quote. Many of the thaumaturgy personnel believe SCP-12725's presence originates from the former explanation, citing the latter to be unrealistic. The aura SCP-12725 produces has made attempts by the thaumaturgy personnel to study it unmanageable due to it overpowering their senses. If at any moment someone draws SCP-12725's attention, no matter if they can feel the immaterial or not, they will feel SCP-12725 aura directed at them. The distance one has to SCP-12725 seems to be ignored when its attention is on someone and its effects seem to be stronger. SCP-12725's aura seems to have a slight persuasive effect. Nobody exposed to it has said it made them do things against their will. The effect can be fought off and it stops being an issue once one leaves SCP-12725 range or his attention is directed somewhere else. SCP-12725 seems to be unaware of its aura. Redacted has shown concern at SCP-12725's growth speed. SCP-12725 aura has been noted to grow at times. Redacted believes that if SCP-12725's aura does not stop increasing in size, it could lead to a redacted scenario. Addendum 12725-1, Close. SCP-12725 is aware that it no longer is human. Despite this, it's insistent on being called Gabriel. SCP-12725 appears to not care about the life it left behind. Additional analysis of 12,725 psychology seems to point out that 12,725 believes to be humoring the Foundation by staying willingly in its cell. Addendum 12725I1, open. Addendum 12725I2, open. Addendum 12725I3, open. Addendum 12725I4, open. Addendum 12725-2, open. Addendum 12725I5, open. Addendum 12725I5, open. Addendum 12725I6, open. Addendum 12725I7, open. Addendum 12725I8, close. Manuscript of Interview Number 8, first time the Foundation found out about SCP-12725's persuasion effect. Dr. Eugene Baker, so, what are your thoughts on humans? SCP-12725, what do you mean? Dr. Eugene Baker, well, what is your opinion of humanity? SCP-12725, well, its social system is inherently flawed. Humans lack empathy, drive, and are prone to ignore glaring issues. Are generally bad for each other. Dr. Eugene Baker is silent for 34 seconds. SCP-12725, well, individually humans are nice. Some are annoying, but I believe it's always nice to have some company. Dr. Eugene Baker, so you like our talks? Dr. Eugene refers to the interviews. He does not have contact with SCP-12725 outside of them. SCP-12725, yeah, they are entertaining. It breaks the monotony of just using my powers. Though if ya stopped sounding like a scared animal every time we talked, they would be more enjoyable. Dr. Eugene Baker, you have been using your powers all this time? Rapid shuffling of papers occurs. SCP-12725, of course, what else am I supposed to do while I'm here? Dr. Eugene notes he felt SCP-12725 presence becoming more suffocating. Dr. Eugene Baker, would you like something to distract yourself with? SCP-12725, I mean, a TV maybe? Or can I get back my phone? It has been a while since I checked Reddit. Dr. Eugene Baker realizes something is affecting his mind and retreats from the observation room. Addendum 12725-3, open. As I read SCP-12725's file again, I couldn't believe nobody had asked him about the persuasion aura. I know our scientists prided themselves on being able to discover new stuff about any SCP, but this was ridiculous. Something had to be done about this. SCP-12725 had answered all our questions truthfully as far as we could tell. Ordering some personnel to interrogate 12,725 more should offer some results. I pressed one of the call buttons on the edge of my desk. Dr. William, please inform the research team to coordinate with the thaumaturgy team. It's clear they are not working together. I do not care if they think the thaumaturgy personnel are not doing real research. I want them to work together from now on. Yes, Director. Also, please tell the research team to have someone ask SCP-12725 about his powers. 12,725 has answered all but 2 questions that have been asked of it. All right, Director. I cut the connection off. At least 12,725 was not an info hazard. It was already hard enough to deal with. POV, Dr. Eugene Baker. The research area was as busy as it always was. Scientist after scientist running around, talking to their assistants, writing down notes, and using some equipment to test anomaly samples. I was busy going over my notes of my last interaction with 12725 when Drive Aurelia entered the area, followed by around 4 more thaumaturgy personnel. Dr. Eugene, Assistant Director. William Borley has just ordered us to work together on 12,725's case. I frowned. I did not like the idea of working with the thaumaturgy branch. They were messy, prone to accidents, and it was hard to think of ways we could work together on a test. Dr. William wants us to work together? That is going to be annoying. All right, what is your team currently working on? Ours is trying to detect 12,725's aura with technology. Dr. Aurelia frowned a little at me as she answered. We are trying to find a way to make ourselves immune to its presence. Attempts so far have been useless. I guess we will just wait for you to finish whatever you are doing with your magic before starting a project together. We wouldn't be of any help with that particular issue, and you can't exactly help us if you can't get close to 12725. Her frown deepened a bit more. Actually, the director wants one of your team to ask SCP-12725 about its anomalous properties. He seems confident 12,725 will answer. Damn, interacting with 12,725 was tiring. Once a day was what we were limiting ourselves to. We did not want to risk a scientist in order to prove SCP-12725's aura long-term effects, since 12,725 was captured. The amount of D-class personnel in the site had decreased a lot. Alright, we'll get to it. Should we send an assistant? Connor was getting to a point where he could start directing his own research. Having him talk to a sapient SCP that tentatively had a caution risk level was a good idea. And damn, whenever I tell myself I will write a longer chapter they appear to shrink. Like WTF, this chapter is 6 pages long, chapter 1 is 4, and this is still the chapter with the least amount of words I've written. This chapter is meant to be a showing of how Gabriel's file looks like about a month after his containment. The one in the index is just a thing I did when I was bored and wanted to write some of the things I was coming up with at the moment. Also, what do y'all think of the formatting of the file? Was it good? Was the addendum list unnecessary? What are your thoughts of it? If any of y'all finds a spelling mistake, has questions, has some criticism, or whatever, please leave a comment. I enjoy reading them. Thanks for reading. Chapter 7. I had been waiting in this cell for around 2 months. Waiting for the Foundation to do something, anything? They haven't even sent a D-class to visit me? I just wanted to play with the Foundation a bit, see how they treated their SCPs, see how they would treat a humanoid one. All they've done is leave me waiting in a cell for way too long. With a sigh I stood up and started walking towards the door. I still didn't know what it was made of. What I did know was that it would not be enough to stop me from leaving. I was bored and the Foundation had taken too long to do anything with me. They didn't even try to find different ways to kill me. As I approached the door I started dominating the space in front of me. I realized that I didn't need to be an Avatar XP to control what happened around me a couple of days into my containment. The space under the door expanded in ways space wasn't supposed to do. I wasn't sure what effects my manipulation has on physics. Should I ask the Foundation for some books on the physics of space and time? They surely had an interesting read somewhere. I expect their studies have advanced their knowledge of space and time way more than what I had in my old world. Alarms started blaring, the white lights suddenly started flickering red every 5 seconds. I heard a lot of footsteps running at me and away from me. I noted with some disregard that I could hear way better than what I expected. The sounds of guns being loaded with their clips started overpowering the sound of everything else, and the running increased in pace. As I reached the end of the hallway the sounds of panic breathing reached my ears. Another black door separated me from whoever was in the room ahead of me. Apparently they knew it wasn't going to be enough to stop me. Or maybe they were just really anxious in general. The Foundation had sent some random researcher towards me before my escape. Nice, I will encounter him or her before all the guards. Maybe they could help me to escalate the situation. As the space under the door expanded like the last one, I walked through and saw a black man almost having a panic attack on a chair. He was facing towards me when I entered the room. His face was pale, his eyes dilated and bloodshot, his breathing erratic, and he was shaking. He looked like he wanted to run away from me as fast as he could but couldn't move. Was I that imposing? I hadn't even changed my appearance into a scary one. I could have given myself some bulging muscles and act like a JoJo wannabe thug. I was pretty sure he was overreacting. There is no way a normal-looking man, with an admittedly eye-catching hair color, was this scary. I started walking towards the scientist. He was young, about my body's age before I made the deal with 738. So, how are you doing? I looked down and saw he was wearing a badge with the name Connor. Connor. He gulped, looked down at his badge and then back at me. Apparently my sense of smell also improved since I could smell that he was sweating quite a lot. The cell I was in didn't smell like anything, so the fact that the first thing I was smelling with my improved senses was the sweat of a researcher made me feel a bit bitter at the fact the Foundation hadn't brought me any food. Well, I was about to begin an interview with you. He was shitting his pants, that was what he was doing. Is that so? I leaned a bit forward and Connor leaned it backwards so far he almost fell. He almost looked like he wanted to recreate PewDiePie's "but can you do this" meme. Well, how about you interview me on our way to your commander or whatever? Let's go, come on, I ain't gonna bite you. I grabbed him by the armpits, stood him up, and started walking towards the next door. He didn't follow me, so by the time I reached the door I turned towards him. Hurry up, Connor, I have stuff to do. Let's get the interview over with as fast as possible so by the time we get to your boss we'll be done. Connor looked very constipated, maybe he had hemorrhoids? He finally started walking after I gave him a look. He still looked skittish but was trying to put up a facade now that he saw I wasn't about to dismember him. So, I started, what was the interview gonna be about this time? We wanted to know more about your presence 12725. The fuck was he talking about? Also, please call me Gabriel, I'm getting tired of being called 12,725 by everyone, I ain't no test tube baby. He now looked like he wanted to run away from me again. And to answer your question, I have no idea what presence you are talking about. We walked through another corridor, this one filled with more doors that had more SCP numbers on some plates next to them. Well, the thaumaturgy researchers say your presence is heavier than anything they have encountered so far. It is so heavy in fact that we normal researchers can feel it when close to you. What? Was he feeling my area of influence? No, that couldn't be. It was too short for him or anyone to have felt it before. Alright, and what does my presence do? I'm not sure I know what you are talking about. He looked me in the eyes like I had just told him I was actually a woman. I mean, I technically could become one, right? If I wanted I could possibly change my gender by manipulating my DNA. I should try it out one time. You don't know about it? Dr. Aurelia was right then. He was avoiding the question. What does my presence do, Connor? I can't say I know what you are talking about if you don't tell me what it is. Connor took a steadying breath. Mr. Gabriel, your presence manifests as some sort of aura around you. It makes everyone in it quite uncomfortable. It feels suffocating. What was this bleach bullshit? An aura that felt suffocating? That was literally how Ryotsu was explained. I tried finding it. I had to have some way to turn it off. If the reason I was in isolation was because people felt they were drowning around me, I will feel pretty dumb. I felt my connection to domination and searched around it. Maybe it was escaping my influence and affecting things around me. I didn't find anything there. What could be giving off the pressure? We were about to leave the SCP corridor when we turned a corner and I suddenly had a shotgun being pressed against my face. Goodbye, Red. I slowed down my perception as much as I could in that instant. Was someone trying to kill me with a shotgun? Connor was going to get in the crossfire if I was not careful. His life didn't really matter much to me, but he was answering my questions, so he was useful. As I saw the muzzle flash and felt heat starting rushing at my face, I started bending the space around my face and directed it so all directions pointed upwards. As I saw some bullets start going towards me, I couldn't help but marvel at the sight. How many humans could say they saw a bullet in real-time slow-mo? As I was looking out how the pellets seemed to glow, I noticed they were not bending upwards like the space in front of them dictated them to do. That was weird. How were the bullets ignoring space like that? Were they also an SCP? Also, the bullets were still heading towards my poor face. I decided to get Connor out of danger first. Clearly the bullets were anomalous, so bending space around him so everything parted before him was not an option. I decided to control his body and throw him into one of the closed rooms adjacent to us, bending the space under the door again so he could pass through. As I was doing that, I pulled my body to my left as hard and fast as I could. I was pretty sure I did not need my brain to continue living. I could also do some reconstructive surgery to make my beautiful face not have holes anywhere, but I'd rather not get shot in the first place. As I slammed into the hallway's wall and Connor yelped as he was suddenly inside of the corridor leading to SCP-2980, I saw the shooter. He was a blonde man. I sped up my perception when I saw him begin to talk. I've never fought a type green who threw himself at walls to escape bullets. Most try to just make them disappear, you know. He pumped his shotgun again as he retreated a fair bit of distance. He was grinning from ear to ear. The facade he was trying to put up did not stop me from noticing how his forehead was sweating. I assume those type green are also very dead. Gabriel Garcia, nice to meet you. I'd appreciate it if you don't try to blow up my head again. It would inconvenience me quite a bit, you see. Dr. Alto Clef, at your service. I'd appreciate it if you stopped trying to break out of containment. He looked like a blonde Ichimaru with spiky hair. What was up with the Bleach references today? His almost closed-eye smile was creepy as fuck. But hey, I recognized that name. Huh, well, if I never considered myself contained, am I really breaking out? The way I see it, I just went out on a stroll and I'm being attacked by the resident crackhead. He hummed for a moment, tilted his head a bit. I suppose not. His fingers twitched again and I threw myself to my right. This time I did not slam into the wall and just landed next to it. The wall where I was before exploded when the bullets hit it. Chunks of the wall were torn away from the force of the bullets. Again with the shotgun. Can you not? I just want to talk to your boss, or are you the boss? Can we just talk peacefully? His mad grin diminished a bit, his eyes tightened more. Maybe if you return to your cell. I'm sure the director won't mind talking to you after your containment procedures are changed and your risk assessment is increased. He pointed the shotgun at me again. This time I noticed that he had an abnormal amount of what appeared to be runes running on the inside of his lab coat. Actually, now that I had a good look at him, I noticed that everything on him had some runes. Holy shit, that's cool. Can I learn how to use them? Look, Dr. Claff, I get that I make y'all nervous. Apparently I have some type of aura or something, but I'm not. Walking into the cell again. I have repeatedly asked for concessions or amenities and have been stonewalled so far. I started walking towards him as some of the runes around his shoes glowed. He shot backwards very fast. I understand your reluctance to return to your cell, but please believe me when I say that you are outnumbered, outgunned, and outpowered here. I will escalate if necessary. You shall not make any further than this hallway. Why are you so sure about that? Have I not proven myself strong enough to escape? Well, you see, I'm an expert at killing your type. You greens are always annoying to deal with, but ultimately killable. I blinked. What are greens? Dr. Clef decided he did not want to talk more to me and started shooting at me with a speed that made me think his shotgun was an automatic one. For some reason I couldn't bend the bullets away from me, so I did the next best thing to escape the bullet wall. I walked into a crevice in the wall next to me, expanding the space of the crack enough so I could enter without problems. As I felt the bullets pass where I was, I walked out of the crack and tried to make Dr. Clef hit his head against the roof by bending the space in between him and the ceiling and almost collapsing it. I knew Dr. Cleed was some sort of reality anchor, and trying to overpower his existence at the moment seemed like a waste of energy. So I opted for the next best thing when I noticed he had jumped. Dr. Clef hit his head against the ceiling and fell down. He did not get up. Ah shit, had I killed Clef? As I walked towards him to check if he was still alive, he suddenly whipped up a pistol from underneath him and shot me 4 times in the abdomen. Those bullets had been way too fast. I didn't even see them. They also had the same abnormal properties as his shotgun pellets. So as the bullets lodged themselves inside of me, I couldn't stop the bleeding and close the wounds. I wasn't going to walk around with some bullets inside my intestines. That's bad manners. Dr. Clef, do we really need to fight to this extent? I questioned as I stuck a hand up my abdomen and tried to pull out one of the bullets. He stood up slowly, his gun aimed at me all the while as he caressed his head. Well, I think so. You are too dangerous. And you are not. I questioned him. You said you were an expert at killing type greens. How many people have you killed? I finally managed to get one of the bullets out and started searching for a second one. Dr. Clef did not look so happy now. His mad smile was gone, his eyes were a bit more opened now, his posture more ready for anything. Well, I suppose that's true. But you are missing a point. I am human, you are not. Now that was just a shitty excuse. And I endeavored to tell him just what I thought about his opinion when he shot at me again. This time I opted to block the bullets with the floor. The good doctor always kept some distance in between us, so I couldn't just run or throw myself at him. He kept me at bay with bullets and his boots that somehow made him able to dash stupidly fast. Gasp, was this some type of real-life Souls battle? You know, a stupid strong enemy that you had to chip down slowly while rolling out of the way of their attacks. Hell yeah. Just wished he wasn't trying to kill me. Maybe I should bring out the big guns? Enter phase 2. Yay, I wanted to talk to the director, not fight Clef to the death. Alright Clef. You seem like a nice guy, so I'm not going to kill you. I began. You limiting yourself will make my job easier, thank you. This mofo. So I'ma give you a chance to back down before I start taking this fight more seriously. I saw his determination increase with my statement. Welp, that backfired. I dropped the last bullet that was embedded in me to the floor and closed the whole wounds. I advise you to increase in potency whatever you are doing to keep yourself unaffected by my powers. I haven't really tested this power on people yet. Drake was noted to have the strongest flames in DxD. I had thought about how they worked a lot in the last few months. They were not fire. That was too simple. Trying to replicate the strength of what I thought his flames had by concentrating on fire was not the way to use them. Combustion was fine and all, but it had limits. What I discovered that worked perfectly was trying to transform domination into destruction. It wasn't real destruction what manifested, nor was it domination, but instead a sort of would-be fire that wanted to burn everything it touched, to consume what it came in contact with until there was nothing more to take from. I guess it was domination in a roundabout way. It just was tied to destruction a bit too much. I burned myself pretty bad the first time I used it. So I concentrated really hard on what I was about to do. Dr. Clef's face changed the instant I began to bring forth the flames. He grabbed a radio that was strapped to his vest as his boots and pants glowed once more before he turned around and he began running for the exit. Retreat! Everyone retreat! This place is about to become ground zero. So much for all the you shall not pass and whatever. I didn't even let him get to the door. My aim was not to kill Clef, but to stop him from being a nuisance for the moment. As Clef ran at what was a very impressive speed, I directed the flames to appear in his apparel, and ordered them to destroy all of his equipment. Using the flames was annoying. They were erratic, and fought me tooth and nail every time I used them. They did not want to be dominated, controlled, or even guided. So I concentrated really hard in not killing Clef. I chanted in my mind, just burn the clothes a couple of times and just hoped for the best. Dr. Clef for his part looked horrified at his clothes as he was left in his underwear. His speed dropped dramatically and he almost face planted on the floor. His guns fell out of their now non-existent holsters and his radio vanished to ashes in his hand. Clef fell to his knees and looked despondently towards a bunch of ash on the floor which was once his clothes. I once again began to walk towards him. When I finally reached him, he looked up at me. His face contracted in a painful visage. He looked on the verge of tears actually. Do you have any idea of how long it took me to enchant all my uniform? Wait, I think he was actually crying. It took me days, 12,725 days? How dare you? How dare you destroy all my hard work like that? Now I felt bad for him. Also, who was he calling 12725? And I told you my name was Gabriel, dammit? When will someone finally call me that? Ah! Dr. Clef screamed as he ran at me and attempted to punch me in the face. Unfortunately for him, all his fancy schmancy equipment was gone and he was just a baseline human with resistance to reality shifts. So I just picked him up and covered his mouth and nose for about 2 minutes till he fell unconscious. I was tempted to do the generic neck chop, but I was almost 100% sure that it didn't work in real life, and I didn't want to break his neck by accident. With the nuisance being dealt with, I once again bent the space underneath the door and yanked the cowering Connor out of the hallway he was in and into the one we were walking on before. The place looked ravaged. The end of the hallway, where Dr. Clef's shotgun wall hit the, well, everything, looked in ruins. There were also a bunch of bullet marks on the floor and wall. Ashes also swept through the area. He looked left and right, and then at Clef, before looking at me. The fear in his eyes had never been so strong. You killed Dr. Clef. His voice was trembling. He was shaking a lot. No, I didn't. Come on, let's get going before he wakes up and starts bothering me again. I began to walk towards the exit again. Connor followed me with a haunted look. Please continue to tell me about my aura. I wish to see if I can turn it off. And so he did. By the time we found more guards, I had my aura off. The alarms had grown in intensity and none of the opposition we found was as problematic to deal with as Dr. Clef. And I finally managed to write a somewhat long chapter. This was my first time writing a fighting scene. How did I do? Was it all over the place or was it readable? Since most of the SCP community is undecided on how Clef is so fucking powerful, I decided to make him a really strong type blue. The wiki states that he was formerly part of the GOC, so him being able to use RuneScript doesn't sound too outlandish in my opinion. Also, runes are fucking cool. Since some people want the containment arc to be done with, and some wanted to know how the MC developed and didn't want some type of rushed story, I decided that I would try to write much longer chapters so that with a few more of them I could be done with the arc. Also, did I explain how the flames used by the MC worked well? I have a clear image of how they work in my head, but I'm not sure if I was able to put it into words like I wanted to. If any of y'all finds a spelling mistake, has questions, has some criticism, or whatever, please leave a comment.